Let me show you.
Test model.
Did you give me a tissue?
Hey, Natasha, you're looking really nice. Hi, Ogake.
Hi.
Hi. Henrietta, are you okay?
Good. I'm just wondering why my place is so dark. I need to light it up a bit.
Okay. Rosemary, your lighting is perfect.
Thank you.
Good. Let me see how I can change mine.
Chumina, mina, waka, waka,
Hello, hello, everybody. How are you? Good evening, everyone. Panelists, can you wave at me just to say hi so I can know you're here? Awesome. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today or today evening. Welcome to the third series of Samantha's Bridal Wedding Webinars. Now, our industry has been hit particularly hard by COVID-19 pandemic. We are all walking in uncharted territories, dealing with challenges, fears, and concerns. Everyone is experiencing a wide range of emotions from one moment to the next. But we at Samantha's Bridal want to let you know that we are here for you. How can we as an industry deal with our current challenges and support each other? Well, the aim of this webinar is to help us navigate this uncertainty as a community. If there's one thing I want us to remember about COVID-19 is that we did it together. We need to keep reminding ourselves during this COVID period that we are all in this together. We are here for
Marian, we cannot hear you. We've lost you.
now.
Now you're back.
Are you guys, can you hear me? Thank you. Sorry about that. So I was saying today we have a panelist of wedding pros. We're here to talk about how 2020 and 2021 wedding will look like. So I have a very good panel today. I will start with Pooja. Could you introduce yourself? Unmute and then introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me. My name is Pooja Patel. I'm the food and beverage manager of the Radisson Blu Hotel in Upper Hill. Over to you, Marion.
Thank you. What about Ogake? Please introduce yourself. Unmute. I know technology.
Sorry. Hi, everyone. My name is Ogake Mosomi. I'm a bridal wear designer, and the name of my company is Ogake Bridal, and we specialize in custom-made wedding gowns.
Awesome.
Over to you, Marion.
Thank you. Ruthie.
Thank you, Marion. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ruthie. I'm a professional makeup artist, founder and head makeup artist at Makeup by Ruthie. We provide makeup services for all events, ranging from weddings to anniversaries, birthday parties, graduations, photo shoots, basically any event that you require makeup for, we provide. Over to you, Marion.
Thank you. Henrietta. Henrietta? Henrietta, please unmute yourself. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Henrietta, and I am the founder of Black Tie Events Kenya. Thank you, Marian.
Thank you, Henrietta. Over to you, Rosemary. Rosemary, is Rosemary
Good
here?
evening, everyone. Yes, I'm here. Good evening, everyone. This is Rosemary Teka from Splendid Weddings, where we specialize in wedding planning and floral styling. Over to you, Mariam.
Thank you, Rosemary. Rose Kabebe. Please unmute yourself, Rose Kabebe. Thank you.
Sorry for that. My name is Rose Kabebe of Eco World Events. I'm the co-founder and the CEO of Eco World Events. We specialize in decor services, hiring of wedding furniture that includes tents, chairs, tables, linen, and centerpieces. I'm happy to be part of this webinar this evening as I chart the way forward with my colleagues on ways to manage events during and after COVID. Thank you, Marion. Back to you.
Thank you. Charity.
Hey, thank you for having me. My name is Charity Mutua from Divine Caterers. I am a co-director at Divine Caterers, We specialize in social gatherings as well as corporate events. Over to you, Mariam.
Thank you, Charity. Sarah Kabu, karibu sana.
Jambo Jambo. My name is Mrs. Sarah Kabu, Managing Director, Bonfire Adventures. We specialize in organizing romantic honeymoon getaways for the couples after the wedding, both locally and internationally, but currently we are just organizing within Nairobi for most of our couples within the city. Okay, over to you, Marion.
Thank you, Sarah. And to the only guy, the only man in this panel, Mr. Kimari.
Hi, Marion. My name is Kimari Maina. I am a wedding MC under the brand Sisimsha Entertainment. It is my sincere pleasure to be here. And I guess to represent the grooms who are not here in that capacity, but also to speak about entertainment in this new season. Marion.
Thank you, Kimari. And last but not least, Natasha.
Hi everyone, my name is Natasha. I'm a wedding planner with La Vida Events, where we help you create design concepts and execute your special day. Over to you, Marion.
Thank you, Tasha. And ladies and gentlemen, my name is Marion Obura. I'm from Majestic Events. We're event planners, and I will be your moderator today. Please interact with us in the chat section. Send us a shout out so we can know who is here. Let us know whether you're planning your wedding, all right? And if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A section, because we'll be having a question segment later on during this webinar. All right, now I would like to take this opportunity to call the founder and the CEO of Samantha's Bridal, and that is none other than Dr. Catherine Matitsa, to give us her keynote. Karibu.
Asante sana, Marion, and welcome to our panelists tonight, and all the viewers and listeners, wherever it is you're tuning in from. Want to welcome you and hope you can interact with us, and as we deal with this very strange situation. So at the beginning of the year, most of you came to the wedding fair. It was amazing. It was successful. We started off really well. In the longest time, most of the panelists were actually at the fair, and they will agree it was one of the most successful fairs we've had in years. Huge attendance. Everything was high notch. Most of us started off with business plans, of course, the brides and couples, of course, planning the weddings, high spirits. Then COVID happened and everything is up in the air. So we are back to the planning, back on the table. And even though the restrictions on coronavirus, which of course we all know was declared a pandemic, they're beginning to ease now in very many sectors. And hopefully it will get better, and we'll be able to do more and more, and including that we'll be able to gather. Just today I saw there's another clinical trial of a possible cure for, for COVID. We are really hopeful, because when it does, what it means, so that if a cure is found, say in the next like 1 week, or maybe even in 3 months, the couples listening, you do realize that next year or after those 3 months, it's just gonna be, it's gonna be a pandemonium in terms of the people who want to have weddings. So I want to believe, or to start on a very positive note, that this is the time to actually book your favorite supplier, because if you really want to get married this year, and just wait for the time, and or if you're postponing, you postpone, and or if you're planning next year, because there'll be so many weddings happening next year, because a lot of people have postponed, no one has, very few people have canceled. So this is the time. If there's one particular supplier you want to work with, it's just better you book them and you wait. As you can see, the industry is together. and we will actually look after you. But I think so that it's very important that if you're thinking of getting married in 2020, 2021, cure or no cure, we think so that it's very, very important that you actually understand how your wedding may actually look like. And because this may affect when you want to have the wedding, or whether or not you actually want to have your wedding at this time, even the date you want to have the wedding. So to help us navigate these with uncharted waters, we've brought the experts who will break down for us everything. But I want to say one thing. Everybody on this panel agrees that the logistics in terms of how your wedding will be will depend on your particular circumstance. Yeah. But they have only one sentiment that they actually really truly share, and I want to say it so that it can guide even our conversation today and how you're actually going to get everything that we will discuss. The sentiment is that you must remember why you're doing this. It's super important, why you're actually getting married. It's beyond the calligraphed invites, beyond the flowers, the carefully curated details. It is that you actually choose to get married and plan a wedding because you want to marry your partner surrounded with the people you love most. So it's very important that you can, and while you're planning, you keep the eye on the goal. Or should you say on the ball? Think on the goal. Try not to meddle in the drama that is surrounding the postponement or the fact that you can't have all the guests. Try not to meddle in it. Basically, use your energy wisely. Because when the big day comes, yeah, on the day when it comes, you celebrate that you're still having your celebration and that everybody has moved mountains to make it happen. All the vendors in the industry, they may not be on this panel, but they agree with me. Some of them are listening, but even if they are not, and most of them are here to represent all sectors, they agree that we are going to move mountains. We want you to get married, including the editors at Samantha's Bridal. We want you to get married, whether it's now or 12 months from now. So I want to welcome the panelists and the viewers and the listeners to enjoy this evening, ask the questions, and basically let's see what we can come up with. So Marion, up to you.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Indeed, we are getting ready for the weddings. We are here to help you. We are here to help each other. Weddings are here to stay. Now, before we continue, I'd like to give some shout outs. First and foremost, we have over 100 participants right now, so good stuff, that's awesome. I'd like to give a shout out to, there are two brides who've actually said they're getting married. There's Helen Washeke, who is getting married in August. Thank you for being here. And there is Nkatha, who is an August bride. And I'm sure there are many other brides out there. So this conversation is definitely going to help you. And a big shout out to Peter Tindi from Early Star Caterers. All right, let's go straight into it. I'm going to start with Pooja, right? Pooja, as a 5-star hotel, you represent Radisson Blu. As a 5-star hotel that is a wedding venue, offers dining and accommodation services, what health and safety measures have you put in place, all right, to make sure that couples are well taken care of during this wedding? And what should couples who are aspiring to have their wedding at any other 5-star hotel, what should they look out for? Over to you, Pooja.
Thank you so much, Marion. I really appreciate the opportunity to be among such amazing people representing their parts of the industry. I'm truly honored. Just to jump straight into things, I think the first most important thing of this Zoom call is to assure our future brides and grooms that we can do this. We're the experts of all of our fields represented here, and we're there for a reason. We're here to give you guys a sense of calm, a sense of comfort, to take you through all the steps to make sure that you know that even though post-COVID, there is still many possibilities. All is not lost at all, actually. And if you think about it really deeply, you can even find the shining light at the end of the tunnel, that things might even turn out much better than you had ever anticipated. Being in the hospitality industry myself for some years now, I feel that all of us feel like an ownership and a responsibility towards not only our brides and grooms, but any guests that come through our doors. We are housekeepers. We need to make sure that the environment is safe for our guests. And I feel like when it comes to hotels specifically, because that's who I'm representing, I feel like we have a very huge advantage that can already put our future brides and grooms to ease. For example, what do I mean by this? You want to have a post-corona world where you have the most minimum amount of contact, isn't it? So whether it might be censored doors, we've already got it. You talk about censored faucets, you go to a bathroom, you don't want to touch things. Things are already censored. So we've got the technology in place that already gives us a good holding ground to set the pace for even more heightened regulations and procedures to be put there in order to make our future brides and grooms feel safe. Apart than this as well, I feel that, you know, our hotel at the Radisson Blu in Upper Hill, we've actually already partnered with a company called SGS. So we're in process right now. You know, we take that ownership that I was talking about, where we even go out of our way to find an external company other than government and regulation to audit us, to say, please come and check us and make sure that we're doing the right thing from a professional point of view in terms of hygiene and cleanliness, to make sure that we're safe for our guests. Apart from that, brides and grooms, what can you expect? We have our 2 brides over here who are getting married in August. That's just around the corner. So we need to set some realistic expectations that yes, things might change a little bit, but you can still have the most amazing day and cherish why you're there, to get married to each other and the love that you share amongst each other. So leave it to us, the experts, because we know what we can do in order for you to concentrate on all the other details that are going to consume you in these next few coming months. Such as things to expect would be, you know, health checks at the security entrance. You already go through security. So it's just another new normal. While you go through security to enter any venue that you go to, now you'll also have a health check to check your temperature, to sanitize your hands, make sure that you're safe when you enter the property. Personalized welcomes, you know, I think the times of where people enter and then, you know, you can walk around or anything like that, I think those have gone. I think people coming with a purpose. So when they're coming in, that personalized welcome from our hosts and our hostesses, our wonderful staff who are really missing everyone, to be honest, to take them through where they need to go. Ensuring that the guests can have minimum contact, because it's a habit. When you're walking through somewhere, maybe you might touch something. So that personalized guided service, that someone is always with you, taking you through the steps, that you don't touch anything or that you are going exactly where you need to go, to also protect yourselves, protect our staff, and protect everyone else that might be in the same venue as well. So you need to get used to this kind of a new normal. Yes, maybe we might take some time, a minute of your time when you enter our property, to do an orientation to make you feel safe as well, because we want you to know what have we put in place to make sure that you're coming into a safe environment. Safety is number 1, always. Apart than that, obviously you'll be seeing sanitizer dispensers, you'll be seeing a lot of signages. Will be a new norm as well, you know, reminding our guests, keep safe, wash your hands or sanitize your hands, minimum contact, keep your social distancing apart from each other. That should become normal. And that's definitely something that's being put into place, the social distancing stickers. We need to go into details such as having separated staff, whether it be different staff for your food service, different staff for your, whether it be your beverage service, different staff to even clear the plates so that there's no cross-contamination. We're thinking into little details like this as well. Imagine your perfect wedding, but it could be even better. You think, okay, now the buffet queue is very long, or wow, this banquet hall is very crowded. So try to twist it and put it into the most positive way that you can. Here at the Radisson, we're already thinking, our chef and his amazing team, they're already coming up with new and inventive ways to keep your exciting and your food offering still to wow your guests. So they're coming up with different concepts for events, for our restaurants, and they're discovering new techniques to serve. Whether it be I think a lot of future brides and grooms will see like live stations, plated menus, you know, very personalized, individually set menus that will be put in place so that our brides and grooms can choose from, and maybe even discover a new path that they had not thought of before. So it's exciting times ahead.
Right. Thank you, Pooja. That was, I mean, I think you have really gone out of your way. I like the part where you talk about having an external audit, an auditor like SGS coming in to make sure the measures are good, and even the personal orientation that you'll be giving people. I think that's amazing. Right. So that's a perspective from the venue and from a fine dining 5-star hotel. Now, I'd like us to go to something a little bit more personal, all right? More personal than the venue, and that is fashion, gowns. And I have today none other than Ogake to help us talk about this. First and foremost, Ogake, congratulations on pivoting COVID-19 by creating such amazing, beautiful masks for the brides. That was just amazing. So it's clear that the fashion industry is going to change, and that fashion within the wedding industry will change. Do you mind telling a little bit more? What should brides, especially brides, be expecting going forward in this new normal? Ogake?
Thank you, Mariam. So I guess like everyone has just been talking about, we really don't know what's going to happen in the next, 12 to 24 months. And for that reason, we need to be prepared for both scenarios. So there's the scenario where in the next year, we still don't have a vaccine and we're still kind of limited to the very small weddings. And that, of course, will affect the way that we're looking at fashion. So there are 3 sort of like wedding styles that we're looking at for the next, for the next foreseeable future anyway. So the first one is what they're calling a mini money. Mini money meaning like it's a commitment, commitment. Wow, why is the word refusing? Commitment ceremony. And this is where you're just doing like that really, really tiny event, 10 to 15 people, and you're hoping to do a bigger ceremony later on. So this one is just basically you getting either an officiant or the celebrant to come and do your main wedding, because maybe you're planning to have, to start a family. And for this sort of wedding, what people are doing is they're not going into too much expense of doing like the big white frothy dress. Most people are opting for like a much simpler style, something which they can use again. And if you think about in the past when things have happened where there's been war, like big wars, the First World War, after that what happened is there was sort of like a shift into utilitarian fashion. So people are thinking, okay, we can't afford to do all these dramatic dresses, or it doesn't make sense at this point to spend money on these things, so I can do something a bit more simple, something which I can use over and over again. And I've already seen, we've had brides who've done this in the meantime. And I think what's important to mention, Pooja has said and Catherine has said, is that at the end of the day, the most important thing is to get married to your best friend. These other things are amazing, but you can still have an amazing wedding and keep it small. So the minimum is where you're having just your 10 to 15 people and your celebrant, and that's done. Then later on, to however many years forward, you can do your big wedding by everyone. Then the second type of wedding is what they're calling the micro wedding. So in the event that maybe the laws are relaxed a little bit, and maybe you're able to do up to 50 people, what a lot of brides are opting to do is take that budget they had for the 400 people and just splash it on the small wedding. So you're using the same amount of money, meaning you can indulge in a amazing designer gown, and for the grooms you can do like a really nice tuxedo. So you spend more money and get like really quality stuff. And the good thing about that is, again, you're keeping it intimate, you're keeping it authentic, you're doing things which really make you happy, and you're able to do that because you have a big budget, and you're spending it on the things which really matter to the couple. So for this sort of the micro wedding, what's happening is people are sort of leaning towards more classical style. So the big gown, we're coming out of this time when we've just been wearing pajamas and t-shirts, and it's been really boring stuff. So when people leave, they really want to go ham. So it's that big, glitzy, glamorous dress, but on top of that, it's a dress which is very personal to you. So that's another way to go. Then the last one is the elopement, which I don't think is very common here, because in most cases you sort of like involve your parents throughout the process. But in case you decide to go that way, elopement is where you go to a very personal, like a very small destination. You can even go and do it on a boat somewhere, and it's just the two of you and probably the person who's officiating the wedding. And in that case, I guess it's really up to you, depending on whether you are the more over-the-top bride or the more simple couple, you can decide to, again, get really nice clothes. But because in most cases, the elopement is not really planned long in advance, then you'll find that people will, again, do very simple clothing. But something also to think about in terms of fashion, Marion, you mentioned the bridal mask that we were doing, which I can tell you, most people are like, hell no, I choose to wait. But that's something to think about. So if you're going to do a wedding in the next 2 years, to be honest, you probably need to think about masking up, and that's for you and also for your guests. Gloves also making a comeback. So you can do it in a very stylish way. So if you think about the 1950s fashion, 1950s and 60s fashion, gloves were very fashionable. If you think about the Hollywood actresses, they'd wear beautiful gloves and beautiful dresses. So you can sort of style it into your look and make sure that when you're greeting people, no one is getting infected. And then in terms of the mood, lots of people are also now looking into local sourcing. So this is something for designers to think about, because now it's going to become more complex to source dresses from outside. Local designers, we really need to step up our game and make sure that we can offer brides what they're looking for at home. And this is an opportunity for us to sort of just expand that whole area and make sure that we bring the work here. And yeah, I think I've covered everything, Marion.
Thank you so much, Ogake. I mean, I know there are brides who are saying, I know even one of the panelists actually said they wouldn't put on masks, but it's a reality that if you're going to have wedding this year or next year, you will have to wear, a mask. So if you think about having someone like Ogake, a designer like Ogake, create, beautiful masks for your guests as well, that is something that you might want to think about. Now, another personal thing is makeup, and that's why Ruthie is here. And I think makeup is so personal. I mean, the makeup artist literally comes into your personal space. And I remember, Ruthie, you were talking about how these days when you go and do makeup on someone else, you literally dress like a doctor, which I had never thought until you actually said it out loud. So I would like you to expound on that, because makeup, that's what every bride wants to do on their wedding. It's something that they need to do. So tell us more about that, Ruthie.
Thank you, Marian, and thank you to Catherine for providing such a vital platform where people in the event space and in the wedding industry can talk about such vital matters that affect us. So it is true, Marian, right now, our #1 priority when we're delivering a makeup service is the safety and care of the client, because it is virtually impossible to do what we do without at least getting very, very close. We have very close proximity to our clients. We are like 30 inches from their face. So that social distancing measure, really, we cannot apply it and still do a good job. However, we've gotten around this by having very high standards of sanitation, protective gear. We do wear the PPE, full gear, because we're very close and we don't want to have a heart attack every time we are working on a client, because we're not sure, have you been self-isolating? Have you been taking the proper precautions? So it is for the safety of the client as well as our own that we wear not just the surgical gloves, we wear the masks, we wear the face shields as well, and the protective overalls, so that we can do the job that we do. One of the things we've seen shift as well is even in the investments of our products and tools, because now we have to sanitize everything all the time. For example, we're doing makeup for a bride. The tools, the makeup products, the makeup brushes, the sponges that we will use for her, for example, will be a completely separate set from what we use for the bridesmaid, for example, and also separate from what you use, like maybe for the mouth of the bride. So we've seen more investment in the tools that we use, in the makeup products as well, so to avoid any kind of cross-contamination when we're doing the service. And it has worked. We're able to do a good job and keep everyone safe in the process. Like has been mentioned before, now that there are smaller weddings, we're also looking at the possibility of smaller bridal parties. Right now, no one is having 13 bridesmaids, on such numbers. So we're looking at very intimate weddings, which means smaller numbers, maybe 3 people in the bridal party that we are working on. So that has also affected how we are going to deliver our services, our time constraints, how we are going to plan it. And it has also heightened the cost of even doing business, because how we deliver our services right now, as well as investing in the protective gear, having a complete set of makeup kit for every person has increased maybe the cost of how we do it. But bottom line is that quality has to be number one, safety has to be number one, to make sure that everybody is happy at the end of the day. And we are looking at the future very optimistically. Even if we don't find a vaccine in maybe the 1 or 2 years, we will make sure that the standards we put will ensure everyone's safety. And of course, when the regulations are more relaxed, we're probably going to see bigger bridal parties, bigger gatherings, so more jobs and more events. Over to you, Marian.
Thank you, Ruthie. I just a follow-up question for you. You talked about increasing the number of tools, like ensuring that the mother of the bride has something separate, the bridesmaids have something separate, and so does the bride. When you look at a situation where you have 5 bridesmaids, which is very popular, would you have different tools for them, or would you advise them to come with their own? I would imagine that cost would be high to, have it. So how would you deal with that?
Thank you, Marian. Right now, we are also seeing options where people are very cautious as well, and they want to use their own makeup products. So there is the option of you can bring your own makeup products, so we can use those particularly for you. And then when we move to somebody else, we will use it. And also we've instituted this way of, we bought a number of decanters. So for example, if I know Marion on you, I'm going to use gold eyeshadow and maybe brown. So we will decant that particular amount we're going to use on like a mixing palette that is specifically for you. What I see using, especially different ones, is the brushes, makeup sponges that we cannot share during this time. So that will be particularly for individual people. Over to you, Mari.
Thank you, Ruthie. And finally, will that mean, and I need to be a little bit blunt here and real for the sake of the couples, does that mean the cost of makeup artists may go up at this point?
At this point, as yet, we have not transferred the cost to the couple, because we know everyone is going through a hard time at the moment. Everyone is going through a very challenging time economically. And we still want to provide a very high quality of service. We've foreseen that in the near future, yes, the cost of makeup artistry will go higher, only because of how much more needs to be invested in delivering the service. So that is definitely a possibility of a higher cost of makeup service. Marian?
All right, thank you, Ruthie. It makes a lot of sense. You are getting personal with all those ladies, so it makes a lot of sense. Now, before we go on, allow me to give a shout out to Kate Kira from Kate Chris. Thank you for joining us. And I must give a shout out to a guy called Stephen Nyaga, who says there are too many ladies on the panelists. So hello, Steve, and to any other groom who is out there, hello, hello, and thank you for joining us. Now, at the beginning of this year,
I can't hear you, Marion.
And to all our viewers, as you can see, we usually do have technical difficulties, but one of the things that we have learned is to always have a backup plan and a backup plan for a backup plan. So as Marion as we sort out Marion and as we try to make sure that she is back, I guess the next question was to Henrietta from Black Tie Events. And if I could pose the question to her, I believe at the beginning of the year during the trends chart, you had a conversation with Marion about 2020 wedding decor and design trends, how we are going to see couples wanting to make bold statements on their wedding day, having huge installations on their special day, you know, high-end furniture, mirrored tables, much of which you're very familiar with because Black Tie Events is known for such setups. So I guess then the question is, you had an amazing display at the February setup, which I believe all who attended can remember. But now that Corona is here, how do you think wedding decor design will change? Over to you, Henrietta.
Thank you so much, Kimari. Let me start by saying that it's really not that much of a change when it comes to decor. The only downside to this whole thing is that we've been forced to cut down on our numbers, we've been forced to postpone, and now couples are in a situation whereby they are waiting it out until the time the government probably gives us more numbers. But that being said, intimate weddings, or as they are now known, micro weddings, were actually starting to become a trend. It's actually a prediction that we had made that beginning of 2020, we're going to see a lot of couples opting to have their numbers go down so that they can increase on the overall experience for the guests, for their guests. But now this whole thing, the whole shifting thing is causing a change for the couple. And allow me to use the bride when I make this statement, because overall the bride has a lot of say when it comes to the decor bit. So what the bride is doing, she's moving her desire or her priority from wanting this lavish, big, beautiful, over-the-top wedding to really just saying I do to the man that she loves, probably in a backyard somewhere, and having a couple of drinks and nyamachoma and calling it a day. We come in as wedding designers and help out to create the perfect day for her. So probably what we'll see is now moving from having this over the top, maybe celebrations at the reception, and now that will move now to the ceremony. They're probably going to want a lot of decorations done for their ceremony and in the space where they're going to say, I do. But looking at all this through a crystal ball, the weddings during and after COVID are generally going to be more favorable to the guests because they're going to have more special things laid out for them. We are going to see a very, a better, overall, the Kenya wedding industry is going to have better layouts. We are going to spend more time now fixing on these details, because we are all about the details. And most of the times we are not able to do that because you can imagine setting tables for 100 people overnight. But now we have only 5 tables to work with. So by that, we're going to have more details set there. Another thing is that weddings are going to be more relaxed and more informal. Imagine, if you will, inviting all and sundry to your wedding will be a thing of the past. Weddings are going to be now more sentimental. They're going to be more meaningful celebrations whereby you invite the nearest and dearest at heart. Thereby, you're going to have couples spending more budgets, their budget more lavishly to smaller groups. But most importantly now, they're going to spend more time with their guests. Last but not least, everything that is decor is going to go big. I mean, cutting down on your guest list does not necessarily mean cutting down on extravagances. If anything, it's quite the opposite. All right, so the decor now is going to be oversized. We're going to have giant statements at every corner. Imagine walking your guests into a room and there's fireworks and smoke machines everywhere just to announce their entry. I mean, think huge balloons, think oversized centerpieces that simply take your breath away from the moment you walk into your reception. At this point now, we can be able to say that we are giving our clients the wedding of their dreams, because initially we had this budget and this long guest list that we had to work with, but now we have the same budget with a smaller number to work with. So this is the time to get married. This is the time to have your wedding, because it's going to be spectacular. Wedding suppliers, wedding vendors, wedding artists, let me say they're spending their time just curating the perfect day for you. And now it's at a point where we have minimal numbers there. What that means is that we can be able to execute more and really give you the day that you have been looking for. Over to you, Marian.
Wow, I mean, I just want to have my wedding right now. You have made it so beautiful. I mean, just knowing that you can have, you know, the same budget but fewer people, meaning you can do more. I think that's excellent. I mean, you have sold it. So for couples out there, this is the time to dream and get all that you wanted. Yeah. Now, I wanted to find out from Rosemary. You're a florist, and I'm sure that, you know, Henrietta has said that she believes that we're still going to have huge installments happening, a lot of statements in terms of design going all out. Now, I'd like you to weigh in on that. And as you do that, I know that you had the privilege of planning a wedding just a few weeks ago during this Corona period. Please share your experience and tell us how it actually went. Rosemary?
Thank you, Marion. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Marion. I'll just take it on talking about floral work when it comes to the wedding. During this season where we're looking at micro weddings, as we're calling them now, we're seeing fewer guests. And so the guests that are present physically are going to be few, but we have a large number of guests that are going to be viewing this wedding online and through live stream. So for us as florists, we're going to be having a larger audience compared to when we used to have just the people who are physically there to experience your work. You're going to have a larger audience from all over the world viewing the work that you have presented to this couple. So even as we are creating our floral designs, we're going to be thinking about things that are going to give the couple and the guests that are not there physically an experience of a lifetime. So just to pick from what Henrietta was saying, we're going to be doing large and elaborate entrance florals. We're going to be focusing on your altar. We're going to be focusing on places that you're going to spend more time on. So people will probably end up not focusing so much on, like we used to focus on walkway flowers. You'll see a bride wanting to focus on a place where she's going to spend more time, seeing as the wedding has even become shorter. So her altar needs to look elaborate. Her entrance needs to look elaborate. Then she'll have an elaborate photo booth where she'll spend a lot of time and experience her guests, because now it's a smaller number. And then now what we're going to do is have just amazing focal floral points that are going to give these guests an experience. So yes, it's going to go big, as Henrietta is saying. We're not going smaller because we have bigger budget with lesser people. So you'll find a bride is willing to spend more on a centerpiece than she would have initially, because now it's 6 to 10 tables at the most. So she's able to spread out her budget better. So we're going to see flowers becoming bigger. We're seeing brides really embracing the mix of artificial and fresh flowers, just to bring out that that we are wanting to create, but when the budgets could not allow, we were a bit limited. So this time we're going to see things changing. And even from my experience, when I did the previous wedding, she was like, let's go all out on my altar. Let's go all out on my backdrop where I'm going to sit, because people who are experiencing this wedding from home are going to be focusing on the places where the bride and groom are seated and taking most time on. So you find they'll want backdrops that are amazing, that will keep the guests glued to the screens or whatever form of medium they'll be using to attend the wedding. Then we're gonna see lots of bursts of color, because people are gonna want to they're coming from a place where people are almost depressed from being indoors. So people are gonna go all out on color. We're gonna see color and just see how to put this together to bring out a beautiful floral experience. And also we're gonna appreciate that we're appreciating that brides are willing to spend more on flowers. So we have brands, local floral brands that we're not able to work with before due to budget. People like Tambuzi now are being embraced. She wants that grand bouquet, which is full of scented roses from Tambuzi. So we're looking forward to doing this wedding. In my experience, because it's a wedding that we had planned before, it was supposed to be on May 5th, but they had to postpone because of Sharia house and all that. And when she came back, it was 10 days to the date that they had decided to do the wedding. And when we sat down to do the floral and to go sit and just go ahead with everything that we had planned, her focus was, this is going to be my dream wedding. I had always wanted a small wedding, but couldn't do it because of culture and all that. Initially, it was supposed to be 600 guests, and we ended up with 15 guests. So she walked in and she was like, oh my God, this is the wedding of my dreams, because that's all she had wanted, a small, intimate wedding where everyone gets wowed at every point. They were wowed at the entrance, they were wowed at the altar, they were wowed at the photo booth. It was just an amazing experience, which is really good for us, and we're looking this time allows us to. We don't know how long they will be. Thank you, Marion.
Oh, thank you, Rosemary. Indeed. I mean, I think people were saying having smaller weddings is is not such a good thing, but from your discussion, from what you have said, from what Henrietta has said, even from what Pooja has said, just having that intimate wedding and the micro wedding that Ogaki was talking about might actually just work. And so people should actually get married, I think. And I think, thank you so much for that encouragement, and just saying that before people wanted to spend a lot more, or rather they wanted to spend on good things, but because of the numbers and because parents were saying we need to have everyone in the list, they were not able to do it. But now they're able to do it. And I think that's amazing. Now, going still into decor, but more into decor like rentals and furniture. Rose Kabebe, this is what you normally do, right? You hire out tents, chairs, and I'm sure that this corona is going to affect the way weddings are done simply because of regulations such as social distancing, right? In terms of how many people can fit in a tent, how many tables can fit in that tent and the space. Tell us, how is that going to affect? And I would really like the brides to know, and the grooms, how will this affect cost? Over to you, Rose Kabebe.
Thank you, Madam, for having me. And I'll start by saying, we want our brides to get married. We want you guys to continue and plan your weddings. We will work with you. We will journey with you. We will help you go along the planning and manage everything within this environment. So in terms of seating arrangement, I'm seeing a scenario where most of the things will change. Before, we used to have at least a minimum or a maximum of 10 or even 12 guests per table. This time, we'll have to at least narrow down to even 4 people or 5 people per table. That means if I take like 100 packs wedding, we'll require 25 tables, unlike before when we were using just 10 tables. So our brides need to get used to this, and they need to understand that it can happen. And of course, the 25 tables now called in for more space. So the spaces that we were setting 100 packs wedding now will no longer be fit enough to hold 100 packs. So we'll be forced to get bigger spaces. Again, calling brides at this point to engage your wedding planners before you settle and you book a venue. Are they able to take you through whether the space that you're looking for will be enough? In terms of percentage, I'm looking at a scenario where we will no longer be referring tents and chairs at 100 packs, 50 packs, 3 sections of A-frame. We'll be using square meters. I'm like, just brides need to have a discussion around it with their planners. How many square meters do I need to accommodate the same 100 packs so that I can please accommodate my brides? So even us, some of us have been been thrown back to the drawing board to even start calculating how many square meters will I will this 50-seater be holding? Because you have to take care of that 1.5 social distancing arrangement. Again, what I'm seeing coming through, especially for our brides where we use both furnitures or we use furnitures. In a scenario where you have a garden wedding, you're using the same chairs for the church and you're moving them to the reception. It is an opportunity for our brides also to even have a different set of chairs, because this time we are working with less numbers. So it will not be of a big burden to them, but where the numbers are high, because I'm very sure as going forward, the rules will become a bit right. So people will be allowed to do 50 or 100. So I'm looking at scenario where we'll have to ask our brides, please, let's have a different set of chairs for the reception and have a different set of chairs for the church ceremony. And so that we can avoid moving around the chairs. Sometimes you find even guests will help you when they get impatient. So I think that scenarios will be seen differently during and even after COVID. Again, the other thing that I foresee is the setup timeline. Before, we would maybe do the same setup of 100 parts within 6 hours. But again, this time will require 8 hours. So again, working with our spaces providers, the ground providers, the hotels like Radisson Group, to at least allow us more time for setup and more time for set down. And again, another aspect that I'm looking into in terms of seating arrangement, we might be forced to send invitations with table numbers. And as you see, you reserve your position, and as you walk into the reception, you're aware, I'm sitting on table number 4, and my position is this, I'm not supposed to be moving. So I'm looking at it like weddings getting more intimate, spending more money on details, as Henrietta, my colleagues, have said, because we have to change with the new normal. The other thing in terms of seating arrangement that we've not managed to look at in our future weddings, children in weddings, for sure. Many are the times that we don't have sitting spaces for children. We only bring in a bossing council and we keep the children busy, and I'm like, where are they going to sit? This time, I'm sure we must consider children. Or when you're doing your invitation at a bride, you need to make it sure that no children, if you don't have spaces for them to sit. So I think, and you know, children are a bit personal in our lives. So it's on a Saturday, I need to go out with them. I've not been seeing them during the week, so I need them to accompany me. So how do you walk around it? Again, cleanliness in terms of our furniture will come in handy, because COVID is all about sanitation, cleanliness. How do you bring me a chair that is dirty? Linen, how are we going to manage our linen? So at this point, we are working on ways to make sure that our linen are well sanitized, they are clean, and they are safe for bride. So don't fear to get involved into, don't fear in planning your wedding, like maybe I don't want a lot of linen, please, we'll take care of it. And with such a big panelist of all service providers and the planners, we need to get there. The other thing that I needed to is procedures which should be followed. I think right now, the planners will have more work to set up procedures, because things will not be done normally. And we have to keep changing, and we have to lay down procedures that are clear and give our clients confidence that for sure my guests will be handled with care, and we are ready to do that. And that's why we are encouraging you guys, just have your weddings. Come to us. We are here to guide you. We are here to walk with you. When it comes to prices and the big budget, we have a variety of tents. We have a variety of chairs. We will work around it, and we'll make sure that at least we give you what you be able to manage in the budget that you have. We have others like Henrietta and Rosemary who will do magical flowers, and we make those setups big and memorable. Thank you. Back to you, Marie.
Thank you, Rose. I mean, you have spoken so passionately about, the whole setup of the chairs. We can see your heart is in it, and you're saying, no, let's just do these weddings. Let's plan these weddings for people. Thank you so much for that. I think what is clear from what you have said, Rose, is that wedding planners will be really important. Before you make up any decision, it will be very critical, because you're talking about square meters. I mean, when was the last time we dealt with square meters? It was quite a while. Now, I'd like to remind our participants that if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A section, because we will have a session later where we'll take time to answer your questions, and you can actually put out your question to any panelist we have today. And allow me to give a shout out to Shiro Magira from Magnolia Events. Thank you for joining us. It's good to have you with us. All right. Now, one of the most important things when you think about a wedding, especially the reception, it is the food, right? So Charity, it's your turn to give us the tips. Now, I'm thinking food is very sensitive. And right now, everyone is concerned about their health, their safety. So I'm sure a lot of brides and grooms are thinking about, will I have buffet service? Will I use normal plates, or will I use disposable plates? I mean, how will it be? I mean, Charity, can you shed some light on how food handling will be done, food safety, and also food service? Over to you, Charity.
Thank you, Marian. When it comes to food handling, I think food safety is big. Already we're dealing with food safety measures, but right now it's more like 10 times bigger than the way it was. As caterers, right now we can only adhere to HACCP standards and implementing those standards in our SOPs. What does that mean? The SOPs don't run only on ground. They run from straight from the kitchen into the ground, so that we need to ensure that all those safety standards are adhered to. When it comes to buffet setups, I mean, that's something we cannot run away from. We definitely have to have the buffet set up, but how will it be done this time around? It will be very different from the way we've always presented it. To start with, when you have like, normally when we have like a 200 packs wedding, we would have 2 stations for buffet. But right now it's going to change to mean us having like 4 stations for serving the food. And this time round, we will need more space for serving the food. Why? To reduce the levels of contamination between our clients and our people. So that means that even the chefing dishes, they'll be put in a way that there's that 1 meter rule between the chefing dishes. And also, every chefing dish will have 1 person serving per item. And in that process as well, it will mean having different stations for doing the clearance. I think we are going to move away from us going around to the tables, cleaning up those, clearing up the tables. Why? Because we need to reduce the level of contact between our staff and the clients as well. We might also need to look at other options of serving food apart from the buffet. We might also look at our live stations. Those are whereby food can be presented creatively in live stations, where people will, to be more of an a la carte kind of setup, whereby it's straight from the fire onto your plate and you go and eat. The other option would be maybe working with local manufacturers to see how they can be able to design like disposable food, disposable thermal pre-packs that can be able to hold food hot for more than 4 hours. Because as per the HACCP standards, 65 degrees is the least amount of, it's a least required temperature for us to serve the food. So even when it comes to plates, we need to ensure that we give our clients assurance that the plates that we are using are safe. How do we do that? These plates are supposed to be cleaned with hot water. Also by using the detergents that are food safe. At the end of the day, once you present that to the client, they'll be able to be assured that the plates that are being served food on, the cutlery that is being used, it is safe for their use. And at the end of the day, we see this environment, the food service environment, really changing, and we can only adapt to that.
All right. Someone is actually asking, Mary Gaki, she's asking concerning the food service, are you looking at disposables as an option?
Yeah, disposables is an option, like I said. We are looking at how we can work with local manufacturers. If they're able, because at the end of the day, we cannot serve food that is cold. As we adhere to HACCP standards, food has to be at a minimum temperature of 65 degrees. So we can only work with manufacturers in a way that they're able to produce for us thermal pre-packs, which are lunch boxes, and together with disposable crockery. So that way, when we are serving you the food on site, we just give you the disposable lunch boxes that food has already been packed, but ensure that at the point when we are serving that food, it is still hot and safe for consumption.
All right. Charity, let me ask, and let's be real, right? Prior to COVID, when people would go to the buffet station, especially when dealing with many independent caterers, there were times where the food is actually not hot, right? And we would serve the food and people would go and they would eat. So maybe you can explain to the couples and to us the reason why you're stressing and the importance of having hot, food and making sure that the disposable boxes are thermal. Tell us more a little bit about that.
What I would advise the couples that at a point when you are deciding to work with a caterer, you need to see the kind of processes that they have put in, the kind of systems that they have implemented. For example, like for us, we have invested in systems in structural and systematic adherence to HACCP standards. What does HACCP means? It means hazard analysis critical control points. What does that mean? It means that we follow these processes in the point that we minimize contamination of food from the source of production to the point of service. In that process, people are supposed to wear PPEs. Right now, we'll use more of PPEs, which are gloves, and as well as masks. And for us to adhere to those standards, we can only serve food that is above 65 degrees. How do we ensure that? We have thermogans that we will use on site. Before you open up any food item, you have to measure the temperature of that food and ensure that that food is served at the required temperatures. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Charity. That's very informative, very, very informative. And it just shows how important, again, it is for all couples to work with experts and to work with suppliers who know what it is they're doing, especially now when you talk about the food and you're talking about 65 degrees. I mean, these are very important things that we need to consider. Now, I'd like us to go to another part of the wedding. And for me as a planner, what happens is I find couples saying that let's just get this wedding over and done with so that we can do what? So that we can go to the honeymoon. So Sarah, I am right now ready to hear from you and to tell us, in light of this coronavirus that we're period that we're living in, what sort of honeymoon packages should couples be looking out for right now?
Hi, good evening, everyone. So right now during lockdown, when we cannot leave Nairobi, we have some very romantic hideaways within Nairobi that couples can be able to go for honeymoon and enjoy a romantic, exclusive honeymoon just the same way they would have enjoyed if they were somewhere in Lamu or Masai Mara or Samburu, or even out of the country. So we have some photos that are supposed to be sliding of some getaways that couples who are doing the micro weddings within Nairobi can be able to go and have a secluded time of their lives. They're in the wild, maybe by the riverside or with a good view of something. But what we are recommending to the couples is just do the most, we call it staycation, but for honeymooners is still like a micro honeymoon. Then spare the rest of the money, because you know, they are before Corona, of course, at the beginning of the year, that's when we start planning with couples their honeymoon, and then they start saving in a saving plan, something we call lipa pole pole. So we have couples who had been paying maybe for their August, for their June, for their December honeymoon, and we are encouraging them that they can continue saving for their dream honeymoon, maybe somewhere in Maldives, somewhere in Mauritius, somewhere in Dubai. But in the meantime, we recommend them to still go on with their wedding and do a mini honeymoon somewhere within Nairobi, or if you are out of town, we still have places. And we have something for every couple. If you go to our page, we only shared photos of about like 4 hotels, but if you go to our page, you'll be able to find right now over 20 places that you can be able to go and have your hideaway. Some are budget, some are medium, and some are quite luxurious with world-class services. So once the lockdown is over, at least people can be able to travel within the country. But out of the country, the airlines are still working on the standard operating systems of how they'll be able to fly people safely. So for now, we have to wait. Some countries have blocked tourists to visit their countries, maybe up to 2021. So when the clients, when like whatever destination you want to go, you can still go to that destination when it is ripe or when it is safe enough to travel to the destination. But we recommend couples like to try and see the places we've come up with, even out of town when the lockdown is lifted. We still have some very beautiful places that are unknown to many Kenyans. When you go there, you are likely maybe to be the only Kenyan in the house. And you're able, you don't want to go to a place where you find that maybe your former schoolmates are having a conference. You want to be in a place where you can be able to feel the exclusivity and the like a hideaway. So we have those places, some in like Kipia, in Malindi, in Watamu, in Masai Mara, places that you're likely to have even a more romantic, serene, and adventurous time than if you had gone to a place like Seychelles or in any island, wherever you had dreamt of going around the world. So couples, when you get married, please make memories. Because you need these memories, as in we always say that memories is the only thing you take to the grave. So we need the good memories of your initial days in marriage. Talk to us. We make the memories for you. And even if you want like a private house, we have several luxurious houses within Nairobi. And right now, I'm telling you, things are at rock bottom. So from 5,000 to 20,000, you can be able to have something within your pocket that is out of this world. Yeah, so I think I would like to tell couples that if your dream was to go out of the country, please don't kill that dream. For now, it can wait until it is safe to travel. But in the meantime, please don't postpone your wedding. Do something and we will make the memories for you. I think I'm done.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you for just stressing how the fact that couples will learn how amazing Kenya is, you know, like discovering Kenya or rediscovering Kenya again, as you talk about the places and the hotels that, the hideaways and the getaways that people don't actually know about, where they'd actually be the only Kenyan if they were to go there right now. So thanks a lot for that. I'm sure couples have really appreciated that particular statement. Now, a lot of people are wondering, when I come to my reception and there's good food, the other thing that is important to them is good entertainment, right? And when you talk about entertainment, yes, we talk about the MC, but what is important is the music. Music is what makes the reception happen. Music is where, you know, it allows us to get down and to dance. Now, Kimari, we really need your help because I do not know how this is going to work during this season. Because how do you control the women who are going to pick the couple when they come into the reception? And how are you going to get people dancing? What are people supposed to do? Please help the couples, because I even see there's someone who has asked that very question. And I know we talked about this yesterday and I said we have to discuss it. So it's a very big question. So Kimari, over to you. Please give us hope and solutions.
Thank you, Marion, for a pressure question. And even before I answer the question, I also wanted to thank Catherine Masitsa for opening up this platform to allow brides to keep dreaming, to keep hope alive. That, you know what, you can still have that dream wedding, a little bit altered, but your dream wedding can still come to pass. So thank you very much, Catherine. I think I'd like to answer the question a little bit differently. And as best as I can, I will also try to represent other forms of entertainment that are offered at a wedding. So not just being an MC or wedding MC, but also what changes would have to take place as DJs, as band members, because together, collectively, we offer entertainment to the bride and the groom. To begin with, maybe first I should mention, it's very interesting how Decor has, if you look at a wedding that happened 10 years ago and a wedding that's happening today, decor-wise, things have changed drastically. If you look at the bridal gown, it's very different from what was and what is today. Even catering, the menu has changed, how the menu is served. But the one thing that seems to have remained somewhat the same is the entertainment and the program within the wedding. You know, like it's usually the same, you know. First we serve people food, and then after that, the mothers stand up to welcome the bride and the groom and the bridal party. Then after that, speeches, then cake, then we're done with the reception. And I think one of the things that we in the entertainment space in the wedding industry need to do is to rethink the experience, because it's my core belief that we don't just offer entertainment more than we offer experience. What are the memories that the bride and the groom and their guests are going to walk away with? Or when the bride and the groom are flipping through their photos, what are they going to be remembering of the day? And it's the experience that I'd rather address. And so it's very possible for you to, if you think of it that way, it's very possible for us to change everything up. So for example, dancing is key and it's core as an African, as a Kenyan. Heck, as a Kikuyu, married to a Luya, those are two tribes that love to dance. So dancing is definitely core in Kenya. So let me first address the question you've asked me. Perhaps we can borrow a tip from the Americans. And this is a conversation I had with Shiro of Magnolia, that perhaps you could invite the bride into the reception area the same way Americans do, which is, you know, I now present, first we welcome the bridal party, and then finally I now present to you Mr. and Mrs. Kimari, for example. And then the bride and groom come dancing in, they have a lot of fun, people cheer them on. There's something that Henrietta had mentioned where we have the pyro machines, or perhaps the Okay, I forget the name, but there's this sticks that you light on a fire, and then you get my, yeah. But yeah, you can change the experience. That as the bride and the groom are coming in, it's a spectacle. It's a spectacle to wait forward to. And then once they are in, okay, so another thing about dancing is dancing doesn't necessarily, now we are used to dancing at the dance floor, of course, and that allows you to interact with the other guests that are present, heck, even the friends you came with, but we don't have to stop dancing. Dancing can be done at the table, which is what Nigerians do. So for example, when they're showering money on the bride and the groom, not everybody necessarily goes to the dance floor all at a go. People are still dancing from their tables, which is still very possible in these situations. People still get to have fun and still get to observe social distance. But beyond dancing, other things that might have to change is, for example, and this is good news to couples. Couples do not look forward to the speeches because speeches take time. Well, a good reason you can give your parents is, now we only have like 4 mics at the wedding. So one is for the pastor, one is for the bride, one is for the groom, one is for the MC. Therefore, it means we possibly don't, because we can't share mics for the same reason. So perhaps let's remove speeches, but let's change it up. Instead of doing speeches as they are traditionally done, let's do recordings. And instead, let's play those recordings on screen. And those recordings could be edited to, say, a minute per speaker, which means now you can even involve your friends who are perhaps not at the wedding to come in and say whatever they needed to say on screen. If you're doing a wedding right now of 15 people, it's very possible to have a live feed where people from outside can make a call, for example, on Zoom, and then that can be aired to the guests that are present. The experience can change, and it can actually change for the better, such that now after COVID, weddings will be done differently, not what we are used to. The other ideas, if you can allow me to share, you don't have to, there's a wedding I did with Natasha, where one of the things that guests were being asked to is, the usual, don't pick a seat, don't pick a side, pick a seat. And then when they're coming into the reception, take a shot, then take a seat. I don't know if you remember that, Natasha. That was brilliant. Guests loved it, where it was interactive, and which is the point. The weddings I've done with Rosemary, where we have laid out what we call Ron. Hey, Ron.
It's all right. It's okay.
Lawn games, like giant Jenga or beanbag toss or bowling, all of which can be regulated with hand sanitizers readily available. And if you're going to play that game with your mask, so that again, we minimize as best as we can the transmission of the disease. But bottom line is, guests are interacting and they're playing games. And you could even do some games on the table, which, for example, write a note to the couple, and then those notes would be left at the gift table, for example, for the couple to read later, or have a photo booth. And that photo booth could be spaced out nicely, but when that picture is captured, it captures the people who are being taken a photo, and then do crazy poses, and then share those photos on screens that are there. My point here being, I think COVID has given us in the entertainment space an opportunity to rethink how the experience given at a wedding is done, entertainment being one of them, so that we don't have to do what we always used to, but we can do something new. And perhaps after COVID, the landscape in the entertainment space in the wedding industry will completely change for the good of the bride and the groom. I don't know if I've answered your question, Marion.
Thank you, Kimari. That was so creative. I'm thinking if you're a bride and you're not married and you're on this in this discussion, I think you want to get married this year for sure, because the ideas I'm hearing are really awesome. Right. Thank you so much, Kimari. You actually tackled the question very well. So thank you. Now, we've talked about all aspects of the wedding, and it's very clear from everyone that you really need help from experts. but there's one person you need to bring everything together, and that is your wedding planner. So today we have Tasha, and Tasha, what I would like you to do is to please take the couples through what they need to do during their planning process from beginning to end, especially in regards to the regulations that we've been given by government to stay within the safety zone. So let's talk about marriage certificate, the guest list, wedding format, you know, how do we ensure that our wedding is COVID compliant? Thank you. Over to you, Tasha.
Thank you, Marion. Hi again. So when it comes to weddings, when you're starting to plan a wedding, the first thing, of course, is to engage a planner. Right now, it's evident that a planner is really important to help you transition through this period and also guide you through the best practices to help you have a wedding that is compliant to what has been stipulated by the government. Because as much as it may sound like, my gosh, I can't even hug my auntie, or I can't even get somebody to, as Kimari said, we can't have multiple people speak on the microphone. But at the end of the day, we have to consider the health and safety regulations that have been set out by the government. So the first thing basically is to make sure that, of course, get a planner and then talk through which venues are COVID compliant, which venues can we be able to actually have a function and not get arrested, because you don't have a situation, because just yesterday as we were discussing, a wedding was actually had to be moved to another venue because they discovered that that venue is not COVID compliant. So what does COVID compliant mean? What sanitations have they put in place? What guidelines do they have? Do they have PPEs for their staff? Do they have the certificate from the government? Do their staff have the certificate that they are COVID-free? They've taken tests within the last 14 days and they can actually be part of your wedding. So the key thing is really to follow what the government regulations have put in place, because they've told us, yes, we can only do 15 pax weddings, and they're actually making sure that this is implemented. So they send out to government authority to be able to come and check to see whether you're actually following the rules. So you don't want your wedding to be cut off short because you have not followed the guidelines. So key thing is to make sure that you have a professional wedding planner who's able to take you through what the guidelines that the government has given us and what is required of you as a guest. I mean, as a bride. Then, of course, when it comes to the compliance, one of the things is the guest list. Now, I think most brides are happy that whoever you want for your wedding can actually come. You know, you can actually tell your mom, but the government has told me I can only have 15 people. So you have the right people that you want for your wedding. So having that guest list is really important for you to be able, even in case something happens. I'm not saying anything would happen, but in case something happens, you're able to have a contact of who came, and in case something happens, you're able to follow up with them and just and reach out to them in case probably a situation happened. So it would be very key to set out your guest list and to have now the contacts, the contact number, and even probably where the residential address of where they stay, so that even when you're presenting your guest list to the authorities that this is my guest list, they're able to also have a list where they can be able to get back and follow up with. So guest list is very key in terms of knowing who's going to be at your wedding and also as part of the regulations that have been set out. Then in terms of COVID compliance is making sure that sanitation, because when the wedding happens, so let's say we've decided to get married on a Saturday, on this coming weekend, or even this coming Friday, or whichever day that you decided on, what sanitation guidelines have the venue have? Do they have a sanitation booth? Do they have hostesses who are going to check on the temperatures for your guests? Do they have multiple sanitation stations whereby if I'm going to the washroom, is there a sanitation station where I can be able to sanitize my hands or wash my hands or wipe my hands? So those are very, very key. And even when they do the setup, how far apart have they taken in terms of setting up the tables and also the chairs? Because you also want to make sure that your guests feel comfortable when they come to your wedding. And even before even the wedding comes, your wedding invites. This is, I think now it calls for a very detailed wedding invite that really explains, we're getting married on this day. We'll appreciate if you can come with your mask. Remember, this is what you've done to make sure that you feel safe. Because as much as, yes, we are feeling very tight and very closed up that we've been at home for this long and we want to go out there and party. But at the same time, we want to be sure that when we go out there for that event, we are safe. So this calls for really detailed wedding invites that really explains, yes, we've chosen probably Disposable for your wedding. And these are the guidelines that we've put in place. So when you come, so feel safe, feel free, and just party because we've already taken you into consideration. So communication will be very key in terms of to your guests, just to make sure that they feel safe. Because yes, you'll have people who want to let out and party, but there's this other category of guests who are very paranoid and you really want them to come. So you want them to feel very comfortable when they are at your wedding. So also thinking about event venues, probably this is the time to consider doing your wedding in one place. We're having a ceremony and a reception in one space so that you can avoid the situation of travel and a lot of contact with various people who you don't even know where they're from. At least having it in one space, you're able to contain the situation, which means now even happy to you'll be able to have shorter ceremonies instead of having 8-hour weddings. Now we'll probably do 4 hours, which are very intimate. They're very meaningful. You come out of there and you're just feeling, wow, that wedding was, as in, truly touched my heart. You can tell people are in love and all. So it's a time for just making sure that all your weddings are really thought through and they're really meaningful to you and even to your guests. And even as Ogaki had mentioned about intimate weddings, and also this is a chance for you to be able to do very personalized weddings. Can you imagine if you have 15 guests, probably 5 of those are in your bridal party, but 10 of them are actually your guests. You can actually do personalized favors because you already know the kind of guests they are. You already know this person loves, say, wine. So you can give them a bottle of wine with a personalized note to them. You know, it could be somebody likes, I don't know, personalized aprons. Maybe they probably love cooking. So you're able to really curate personalized and really unique designed favors. So it's an opportunity to really create that personal and intimate wedding that is just experiential for you and also for your guests.
Right.
Over to you, Marion.
Thank you, Tasha, for summing it up for us. Indeed, intimate weddings is the way to go. Now, we have reached the Q&A section of this webinar. If you have questions, please post them or put them in the Q&A section. I will start by asking a question from Willie Muturi. Thank you for being here. He's a photographer. And he says, I think Kimari has answered most of it, but he said, will your emceeing role include morning hours so that you're in charge of the program so you keep people in check with social distancing rules? Question. And then he also says, plus what happens during sharing of mics during speech hour? I think Kimari answered that one and said maybe we'd have, you know, speeches recorded so that we don't have to share microphones and all that. So I guess, Kimari, it's over to you in terms of your morning role. We normally see the MC coming in later on after the pastor has preached and, you know, the vows have been exchanged. So do you foresee your role starting earlier? Kimari?
Thank you for, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, sir, yes, we can.
Thank you, Marion and Billy, for the question. And I guess the answer is yes, but in liaison with the planner. So Willie, you and I have done many weddings where we met early in the morning and we were, my main job there was to manage time. People were an amazing photo shoot, enough time for an amazing photo shoot later, and we can have enough time to have fun at the reception. But I guess then that becomes an added role that the MC should be able to deliver, which is to make sure that the guests who are going to be present guide, the MC is able to guide those who are present to observe these measures that the government has placed. And these measures have been placed by the government because the government wants to make us sad, but really they are to keep us safe. And I guess then it becomes the role of the MC to keep communicating the same to those who are present. Again, in liaison with the planner, I say that because this is a role that is somewhat shared with the planner. So if the planner already has a team that is doing, so for example, if a planner already has a team that handles the morning, then the planner is the one that takes up the role. But then if the planner can allow the MC to do it, then the MC should be able to do it. I hope I've answered the question. Mariam?
Thank you so much, Kimari. I have another question here from a lady we call Mummy in the industry, Catherine Ambisia. Thank you for being here. She says, and this is to Charity, at what point will the tables be cleared once guests are done with their meals, now that there should be no contact between waiters and guests? Over to you, Charity.
Thank you, Marian. I think, like I had said earlier, we'll have like designated places for clearance. For us to avoid contact between the waiters and the guests, we'll have places, we'll have like maybe, depending on the number of people that are on site, we can have 3 or 4 specific points whereby when somebody is done eating, they'll get their plate and go place them at that designated area so that the waiters can now pick them up from that point to take them back to the back kitchen.
All right, thank you. Yes, thank you, Charity. Thanks for that. I have a question here. Oops. This is, okay, there's someone saying, can we have the contacts of all the panelists? This is from Joel, shared after the meeting. We'll do exactly that. We'll share their contacts. And I'm just seeing there was a question here. Trying to look for it. Let me go to the Q&A section. To Ruthie, is it possible to have disposable makeup brushes?
Thank you, Mariam. In terms of this, well, they haven't really manufactured disposable makeup brushes per se that you can use and throw away. Most of them you can use and disinfect and then use again. But the disinfection process has to be very thorough. Right now, you can either use a makeup brush cleaner, or we use even rubbing alcohol, 100% alcohol, where you spray it on the brush, disinfect it, and then you can use it again. But in terms of this, disposable makeup brushes, those are not available.
Not
Marian?
Thank you. This is to Sarah. This is from Kote Cosmos about honeymoons. The prices of honeymoons, have they gone up or down?
The prices of honeymoon have really gone down. Some of those places I'm talking about, if you check our Bonfire Adventures Facebook page, they are currently running right now. Some of those places are very exclusive. To visit such a hotel before, you would pay not less than $500 during low season. And sometimes during the high season, those places could go for $1,000. Now this place we are offering at 15,000 Kenya shillings. Wow. So you can imagine, like, I don't know, I'm actually going there next week. I'll be vlogging from some of those places next week, but the prices are, you know, like if there's like like for every dark cloud, there's a silver lining. So when it comes to tourism, the prices have really gone down because there's no business. So at least to keep the properties going, because if there are no people visiting the properties, you know, they'll become deserted. So these are prices just to keep people going, but you'll still get the same quality of standards that the person who pays $1,000 was getting. Yes.
Thank you, Sarah. The next question is from Sharon, and this will go to Tasha. Are there any solutions the planners can offer or negotiate under their associations regarding the registration of marriages at the AG office that is currently closed?
The AG office, yes, it's closed. It's okay, not, it's partially closed. It's just right now doing applications that were done pre-COVID. It's not taking up any new applications. However, when they do resume, they will move their services to e-citizen. Now, in terms of planners doing offering us a solution, it's something that we are trying to lobby and see whether we can be able to first off increase the number of guests in a wedding to say 50 to 100 people, so that at least a bride is able to have more of their close friends and family within the wedding setup. So yes, it can only happen under the association, because within the association we have a bigger voice, and we all know that with numbers you're able to lobby something bigger. So it's something that we're actually pushing for under the association.
All right, thank you, Tasha. I have a question here. I'll give this to Pooja from Radisson. Now, based on what you discussed in terms of what measures you've put in place, does that mean that the cost of food per plate for different menu packages, for different menu packages that you offer, will they go up, and by how much approximately? Over to you, Pooja.
Thank you so much for the question. So from my side, I believe that as the hospitality industry, we need to be able to offer a variety. So it will always be a range. Even pre-corona, there was always a range from your, let's say, like entry-level menus to your lavish, enhanced live stations, you know, all of these amazing things that people put together in various venues. So I believe the same thing will happen in a post-COVID world with our new normal. We need to be there for our brides and grooms. We're not trying to, you know, send anybody away. So we want to make sure that we can try and cater to different ranges and offer many types of menus, if that helps. Thank you, Mariam.
Thank you, Pooja. There's a question here for Kimari. Is Kimari here? Okay, let's see. Yes, Kimari is here. Are there any affordable live streaming or pre-recording services that the sound providers can offer during this season?
To be honest, that is actually a service that is already being offered, but by the film, those in the film space. So for example, the wedding that you mentioned that Rosemary did, Kipen's Films were the ones who were providing film services or cinematography, or basically taking the videos. But in addition, they also had a live feed that they had prepared and was sending to everyone else. So I think it lies more with those in cinematography than it does with entertainment. Marian?
All right, thank you, Kimari. Tasha, this is for you. Do you still need, or maybe even Rosemary, you can answer actually, let me give this to Rosemary. Do you still need a noise permit procured for the use of a venue? Rosemary?
Yes, Marion, yes, it's still a requirement. You still need the noise permit procured.
All right, Rosemary,
Over to you, Marion.
Thank you. This one is directed from Jacqueline, and she says, Natasha, could you, Natasha, could you please tell us some of the venues that are COVID compliant?
I may not have the full list with me, but I can reach out to you directly and just give you what I have in mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So Jacqueline, what will happen is
just write your contact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So we'll provide the contacts for all the panelists, and then you can get in touch. Kimari, this is yours again. Will couples still be able to have evening parties? This is from Irene Miner.
So yes, you can definitely still have evening parties, just the same way you can have a reception. But again, we need to rethink the experience both at the reception and at the evening party, and still observe the stipulations that have been laid out by government. Now, the only difference here, perhaps right now as we speak, is the time of the evening party. Because there is a curfew going all the way till 9, then perhaps we can work to close the wedding as early as 3 or 4. Then Willie and other photographers can be able to do their photos till 6, and then you'll have an after party for 2 hours. Or have a different day where you're going to have your after party. So your after party doesn't have to be on your wedding day. It can actually be on a different day. I hope I've answered the question. Arian?
Thanks, Kimari. In other words, it can be a day party, but on a different day, not necessarily.
There you go, not an after party, yes.
Awesome. All right, this is to Ruthie from Kote. He says, they say in the case where the bride is interested in getting her makeup done, but probably not face-to-face through other avenues that technology now provides, how have you been able to handle such requests? Ruthie, this is for you.
Thank you, Marion. We have, once the COVID and social distancing situation hits, and we were not able at the beginning to offer one-on-one makeup services for our clients, we took a lot of our services online. So in the sense that if someone wants to do their makeup and they're not comfortable having a makeup artist come to them, we can go through it step by step online. So we would go on Zoom. I would advise you, okay, these are the products you need, and this is how you do your makeup. So we go step by step. This is how you do your eyebrows. This is how you do your eyeshadow. If you're going for a photo shoot, this is what you need to do. So there have been those aspects that we've taken online to cater for the clients who are not comfortable having a makeup artist around them or in their space. Marian?
Thank you, Ruthie. Ogake, this is for you. I know you don't, I don't know, let us know. This is from Lydia, and she says, hey, will we still have hired wedding dresses? Ogake.
Yes. Okay, so personally, like as a brand, we don't have many dresses to hire, but yes, there are a few pieces. Like if you want to hire from the collection that we show at Samantha Bridal, yes, you can hire from that collection, but it's very limited. But instead of hiring, we can have discussions depending on the kind of ceremony that you're doing. We can have a discussion about making something personal for you, which is probably within your budget. Again, there's a lot of factors, a lot of things to talk about. So you can reach out directly and we can talk about that.
Awesome. This is to you, Henrietta. You talked about people using more emphasis on the ceremony than the reception. So Helen asks, I would also like to know, is the reception time limited? We have seen short church services earlier when the disease started. What do you think? Henrietta?
Thank you, Marian. To answer that question, I entirely don't think that the reception time is going to be cut short. If anything, like I had stated earlier, it's going to get even bigger because now we have this time to do the extras that we didn't know, that we never had time for. Kimari had stated that, you know, we're going to have probably less speeches. In place of that, we're going to have to play something else. Imagine having like a entertainment, like a jazz person coming in and playing for you. There are so many little things that can be done to improve on the overall adventure of the wedding, if I can say. So I don't think the time will be cut short. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you, Henrietta. Over to you, Tasha. This question is for you, and there are two similar ones. One is from Peter Tindi. Does the guest list include service providers? And Helen is also asking, is the 15 guests that we are currently allowed to have, does that include the pastor and the photographer? Kindly elaborate.
The guest list does not include the service providers. However, we'll have, yes, 15 guests, but we'll have very limited number of suppliers, because if you have 15, you can't now have 10 suppliers. So we'll have to really limit the number to the people who are really, really essential, say the photographer, the pastor, the MC, you know. So yeah, the 15 is just a guest list, and then now a very tight number for the suppliers.
Okay. Rosemary, as a planner, Tabitha is asking, where can one get all the COVID-19 guidelines when they're thinking about their wedding?
Thank you, Marion. That's something we could actually post on the Samantha's Bridal portal, the whole list of everything that is required, because it's quite a long list. I wouldn't be able to go through it here, but we can post it after this webinar.
Okay. And the final question is, oh, wow, Chris Kira, thanks for being here. This is to Sarah Kabu. When do you foresee travel outside the country happening for leisure and business? And what will be the safety checklist needed before departure? And what should travelers expect to undergo before reaching their destinations? Sarah?
Hi everyone again. So we are not sure when travel will resume, especially in Kenya. In Tanzania, it has resumed, but I think it all depends on how the situations unfold. The airlines are right now working on safety measures for their customers, like Qatar Airways. If you go to their website, you see and Emirates, you see the safety measures that they have set out to be able to resume travel. But of course, with social distancing, the airfares will be higher than they used to be, because they have to carry lesser passengers. They are working on systems to ensure that as you fly, the air being recycled is safe for you, so that you don't catch the virus. Of course, the sanitization and the social distancing is happening everywhere in the airports. So definitely travel has to resume. We can't live without travel. Nobody has set out the date for maybe when Kenya Airways or other airlines are going to resume. I think they are all waiting, but we predict it could be in August, but we are not sure. After they open up, of course, it's a wait and see thing, but I believe by September we should be back to traveling as usual. That is hopefully. Nobody knows whether the virus is going to spread more or not. But for leisure, I would say it will only be ideal to travel after the 14 days quarantine restriction is lifted, because nobody would want to go to, maybe you're going for a 1 week or 2 week holiday, and assuming you're going to Dubai, then you have to be quarantined there for 14 days. You do your holiday or business for maybe 7 days, then you have to come back again, be quarantined for another 14 days. Not many people would be ready to experience that. So I think for leisure, it will be ideal after, even when flying resumes, it will be ideal to travel for leisure after the 14 days quarantine thing is lifted. Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah. Now, I know there are quite a number of questions and we can't really answer them all, but one thing is for sure, we have a section next week on Friday, a Q&A session where people can ask questions to all the wedding pros. But I have one last question. This is for Rosemary. For 2020 weddings, does this mean we need to plan for both small number and a large number wedding in case things open up?
Thank you. The brides who are reaching out to us currently is not to bury our heads in the sand and think we can plan for 100 guests right now. So we're advising them to plan for the 15 for now, because that is what we are sure of. If you're hoping to do 100, then maybe work with 2021 or maybe the end of the year, December weddings, because the way things are going now, the numbers of COVID cases are growing by the day. So, and the president said until the curve starts flattening or going down, we're not going to open up the economy. So if we want to be realistic, we're asking them to keep it low numbers and hopefully have their bigger celebrations later in the year or towards 2021. Thank you, Marion.
Thank you so much, Rosemary. Now, as we wind up, I'd like each and every of the panelists to give us their parting shot. So I will start with Pooja from Radisson. Just a parting shot, 1 minute. Thank you. So please unmute.
Sorry about that. Thank you so much. It's just a quick one just to say thank you so much for all of those that called in and joined our webinar. I know that things are very uncertain right now, but I hope that all of us have been able to give you a hope and a glimpse into the future, that not all is lost. We are here for you. We encourage you to ask as many questions as you need to make sure your guests and yourselves, you're all safe and that you're going to have a great day ahead of you. And I hope to see you all soon. We hope to hear from you and we hope to see many, many weddings. Thank you.
Thank you, Pooja. Over to you, Ogake.
So my parting shot would be, there's this line I really like that's come up during COVID: love is not cancelled. So staying the hope that everything is going to be okay, your wedding is going to be perfect, and most importantly, your marriage is going to be successful. I think that's the part we focus on. And most of all, please try to work with your suppliers. We all have your best interests at heart. So if there are rules and regulations which are supposed to keep you safe, and all of us will have rules, so you can have separate conversations when you go see people, please try and follow those guidelines so that we keep each other safe. And all the best to all the 2020-2021 brides out there.
Thank you. Thank you. Ruthie?
Thank you, Marian. For me, I would say right now is the perfect opportunity to learn as much as we can about the season that we are going through. Get as much information that will help us deliver the best possible service, even during this COVID period and even after the COVID period is done, just to ensure that the safety and the well-being of our clients. And of course, always remaining optimistic, looking to the future with optimism that we will get through it.
All right, she's kind of gone missing, but we got the point. Maybe she'll come back. Henrietta? Henrietta?
Sorry for that. Thank you, Marian. So I'll wind up by saying that joy, laughter, making merry in weddings is something that is truly engraved in our society. And COVID-19 had tried its best to take that away from us. But I'm here to assure brides that it has been defeated and it can only get better. We are going to rise above this and create incredible designs for you that you are going to be thankful that you are now going to be doing these intimate weddings. Over to you, Marian.
Thank you. Rosemary.
Thanks, Maria. Echoing what Henrietta is saying, that this is the time to do your dream of dream weddings. We're here for you. We are ready to just guide you through it. And this cannot be said enough, that you will need a planner. The numbers may be small, but the logistics and the things that are going to go into that planning are more than when we were planning for larger numbers. So we're here for you. Thank you, Catherine Masitsa and the entire team for setting this up. We're looking forward to further engagements beyond this. Thank you, Marion.
Rose Kabebe.
Thank you, Mariam. I'll tell our brides this evening that there are very few days that you have an opportunity to plan for yourself, and wedding happened to be one of the days. So please come to us, contact us. Let's help you plan around it. We are ready to give you guidance and the best and the wonderful memories. as a team of wedding service providers and all the panelists around here this evening, contact us and we'll be able to help you work around it. There is nothing to fear. Please go ahead and plan your wedding. Thank you.
Awesome. Charity.
Thank you, Marian. What I would like to say is to the brides who are planning their weddings, when it comes to food matters and food safety, we've got your back. As a Divine Caterers, we are very keen on food quality and food safety. So whether you're planning your wedding now or planning in 2020, this is the time to book, because you want to have, you need to be assured that you have the service providers that you want to have on your dream day. Thank you.
Awesome. And Sarah Kabu.
So to all the couples getting married, I want to assure you that everything happens for a reason, especially for those who had always dreamt of big weddings. There's a reason that this has happened, and take it positively. If you are determined to get in this 2021, of course we shall overcome COVID, and just know that we are with you, and we have your back to make sure that if you still dreamt of making memories during your honeymoon, we will ensure that it's memorable, whether it's in Kenya or not. For us, we started our honeymoon in Kenya, and we made beautiful memories before we went out of the country. So save the best for last. So after COVID, we will plan your dream honeymoon, whichever destination out of this country that you might have dreamt of. Okay, bye.
Awesome, Sarah. Thank you. Kimari.
So two very quick statements. The first being, have fun at your wedding. It might not be exactly what you had envisioned before, perhaps because of the measures that have been put in place. For example, numbers have reduced. People who you needed to be at the wedding are unable to travel, but just change your mindset and choose to have fun. If you don't choose to have fun, normally the energy from a wedding comes from the bride and the groom. So whatever the circumstance you're in, however your wedding turns out to be, choose to have fun, choose to have a blast, and your wedding will exhume the same. Your guests will pick up from your energy and you will have fun. And not just those who are present, but even those who are celebrating you and perhaps through a live feed. They will have fun from where they are because they can see you are having fun. So choose to do that. And then secondly, the host many times is usually forgotten. I would know as a wedding host. So I'd also like to give mad props to our host today, Marian. You have done a fantastic job. So from one host to another, thank you so much for leading us so well. And I can see a lot of people are already clapping their hands among the panelists. That is for you, Marian.
Thank you, Kimari. How can I say no to that one? Take your time. Last but not least, Tasha.
Thank you to Samantha Bridal for setting this platform that you're able to speak with couples and just give them hope that this is not the end. And even to my fellow panelists to take us through the various arms of the industry on how we can be able to still manage our events even despite of what has been placed. And of course, to Marian, our moderator, thank you so much for taking us through this session flawlessly. I think we can all say that everybody got a chance to really speak well, and the conversations were really insightful. So for me, one of the things that I've really learned is that through every crisis is an opportunity. And as humans, it's very easy for us to focus on the crisis and what's not working. But we should focus more on what we can actually make out of this situation. We've seen couples have weddings and also streaming them online. We've seen so many options that have happened. We've seen drive-through weddings. I saw a post online where a couple had a drive-through wedding. So the guests drove, said hi, gave them guests, and then gave them gifts, and then they proceeded to to their home. So there are so many options that you can still be able to celebrate your milestone. So for now, don't focus on the circumstances, but focus on your milestone and focus on what the union of the two of you, of what you have together. So still celebrate the love that you have and have that wedding.
Awesome. Thank you so much. A big thank you to all the panelists. Thank you so much for taking your time this evening. We really appreciate it, and I'm sure the couples and every participant really appreciates your time. A big thank you to all the participants. Thank you for joining us today. All of you, your questions, your shout outs, and congratulations to all the brides and all the grooms who are getting married very soon. I wish you a wonderful wedding. And now over to Dr. Catherine Matsitsa for your closing remarks. And for me, it's a very big thank you and bye-bye.
Guys, don't leave yet. I see people are just logging in and logging out. That was an amazing, amazing conversation. And so if I was a couple out there planning a wedding, one of the things I would be popping champagne tonight, just celebrating the fact that there's a team of wedding service providers ready to move mountains for you to get married. So that's really, really amazing. And thank you for all the panelists. And I want to say, be part of history. This is definitely going in the books of history. Like, you got married, like your grandchildren are gonna look at this and say, look at grandma, she got married in this time. We don't know what, you know, I was thinking about it. Maybe that time, I don't know what will happen, we'll be wearing, I don't know what kind of suits. I don't know what is coming, but this is history. So be part of it, getting married at this time, rather than canceling or postponing. Get married and arrange for a bigger do. I like what Ogake said. Yes, love is not canceled, and being in love never goes out of style. So with that, I want to remind, I see there are a couple of service providers who actually tuned in. Next week on Tuesday, we have an amazing, amazing international panel. And for the service providers who are wondering what will happen, is this the end of luxury as we know it? So we're gonna be answering that question. So if you're in the industry, log in, or even if you're a to-be bride, log in and know what to expect. It's always interesting to have an educated, an informed consumer. And next Friday, whatever other questions you may still have, please keep them, because the floor is gonna be open for any question you may have, including how do I get my refunds, including how do I postpone, you know, those kind of things. Just come in and we'll have a similar panel with questions ready to answer your questions. So with that much further ado, I think Kimari, you can put on some music, we can dance.
Yes, yes.
Oh,
yes.
yes.
That was amazing. Well done, Marion.
Awesome.
And everybody on the team.
Please, let's remember to dance. We're waiting for the music.
Don't embarrass me, huh?
It is embarrassing you.
Technology.
We are waiting.
Steady rocking on the midnight train. Oh, steady rocking on the midnight train. To Zion, to Zion. Hii maisha ni safari, tunapita kama moshi, na kabla tuzame mchangani, kuna kushinda na kufeli. Oh, inabidi ujijue tofauti ya mwalimu na mwanafunzi ni ujuzi na ujuaji. Oh, this unbelievable, never make it this far. Undeniable, you see the promised land from above, and it's so beautiful. No, they can't touch the fire, and you know it's not in vain. Steady tripping through the pain. Oh, man. Steady rocking on the midnight train. Steady rocking. ulipozidi unga, hawakudhani tutafika fika. It's unbelievable that we made it this far. Undeniable to see the promised land from afar. So beautiful, they gon' know who we are. We keep on walking in the rain, good our blessings in the pain. Whoa. Steady rocking on the midnight train. Steady rocking, steady rocking on the midnight train. Oh Lord, steady rocking on the midnight train. To Zion, to Zion, Zion. It's on our road to Zion. Nothing will ever deny us. Whatever it takes, keep on rocking. Whatever it takes, keep on moving. To Zion, to Zion, to Zion. Yeah, 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 yeah. Steady rocking on the midnight train. Steady rocking on the midnight train. Oh, Lord. Steady rocking on the midnight train. To Zion, to Zion, to Zion, to Zion. Steady rocking on the midnight train. Steady rocking on the midnight train. Oh Lord, steady rocking on the midnight train. To Zion.